learning how to make cranberry sauce from scratch is easy and delicious. Although what you buy in a can for Thanksgiving and Christmas is definitely great, once you make homemade cranberry sauce, there's no going back. Cranberry sauce comes in two versions, jellied and whole berry, but the beginning of the recipe is the same. Here in this saucepan, I have one 12-ounce bag or 340 grams of whole fresh cranberries, to which I am going to add half a cup or 120 grams of water and half a cup or 120 grams of freshly squeezed orange juice. If you just wanted to do all water, you could. You could even do apple juice. I've even heard of red wine, maybe all orange juice. You can switch things up in that regard if you want. Now I'm going to turn the heat onto high, gas mark 6 out of 6, and cook the cranberries for 6 minutes. It's been almost 3.5 minutes since I turned on the heat, and my cranberries are starting to pop. There. When you hear that sound, you know that they are on their way. And honestly, I think you should use a deeper pot than what I'm using. I'm using this one so that you can see the cranberries, but like I said, they pop and they do squirt a bit. So when you make your own sauce at home, I recommend that you use a pot that has higher sides. It's now been 5 minutes. It almost boiled over. Like I said, use a pot with higher sides. Now turn the heat down to medium, gas mark 3 out of 6, and cook for an additional 15 minutes. The first 5 to 7 on medium heat and the remaining time on low. Gas mark 2 out of 6. So the cranberries cooked for a total of 20 minutes, 5 minutes on high, then I turned it down to medium, and then around the 12 or 13 minute mark, I turned it down from medium to low, and then at the 20-minute mark, I turned off the heat. The next step in learning how to make cranberry sauce, if you are making the jellied version, like what comes in the can, is straining the berries. My berries are now cooked. I have a wire mesh strainer over a deep bowl. What I'm doing is I'm putting some of the cooked berries in the strainer, and I'm just taking my wooden spoon, stirring it around like this while pressing down. While I'm doing this, there is some cranberry juice that is coming through on the bottom. Just taking my knife and scraping it off like that. Now that the berries are strained, I'm going to add the sugar. I am going to add 1 cup, or as I measure, 210 grams of granulated white sugar. Although I think you could get away with 3/4 of a cup, I wouldn't go less than that. Because if you do, then your jellied cranberry sauce might not set up properly and stay runny. Once the sugar is mixed in, it's time to pour the juice into molds. Although you could probably use just about everything, if you want your jellied cranberry sauce to be cylindrical, just like what you buy in a can, I recommend using a glass, or in my case, small mason jars. Although learning how to make homemade cranberry sauce is easy, it is possible that you can make a mistake. Because I definitely did. When I made the first batch, I did not boil it for long enough. I just boiled it for a total of 10 minutes instead of a total of 20 minutes. Although it seemed fine at first, once it had a chance to cool down in the mason jars, I realized that it was a lot runnier than it should be. Although it tasted delicious, I wanted jellied cranberry sauce, like what you buy in a can, so I knew I had to do something to save it. Although you could empty the jars and continue cooking the sauce on the stovetop for a few more minutes, I decided to take the easy way out and use the microwave. I am going to cook this in the microwave on high for 5 1-minute increments, stirring after each minute. After microwaving on high for 5 1-minute increments, stirring after each minute, you can see that the runny cranberry sauce is now a lot thicker. However, if you prefer whole berry cranberry sauce, not the jellied kind, the recipe is even easier. Just like before, I decided to do half water, half orange juice. But I added a bit more flavor with the zest of 1 orange and a small cinnamon stick. This time I also started with frozen cranberries, not fresh. If you use fresh berries, the recipe would be exactly the same. Bring the cranberries to a boil on high heat for 5 minutes, then at the 5-minute mark, turn down the heat to medium and cook for another 5 minutes. Since I used frozen, it took about another 2 minutes for the cranberries to come to a boil. The whole berry version I only cooked for 10 minutes, 5 on high and 5 on medium. At that point, I added some extra spices, 1/8 of a teaspoon each of ground cinnamon and ground ginger. You don't have to make sure that the whole berry version gels, so you can add as little or as much sugar as you want. I decided to just add half a cup this time, about 105 grams. Although it was still a bit on the tart side, I really liked it because of all the spices in the background. Although I have heard of people using an immersion blender to make it smoother, I honestly thought that this sauce was fine just the way it was. Some of the cranberries broke down, some of them remained basically whole, so there was a good combination of textures. It's now the next day, so let's see how my homemade cranberry sauce turned out. Here is the jellied cranberry sauce that went perfectly according to plan. It is nice and chilled now, and if I open the jar, you can see that it is perfectly gelled. It is not moving around at all. In order to get it out of the jar, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a butter knife, run it around the edge like that. Take a plate here, turn it over, shake. And there it is, perfectly gelled. Although the cranberry sauce that I microwaved in order to firm it up was a bit harder to get out from the mason jar, it still eventually did come out fairly cleanly. There was a bit of difference in terms of flavor between the cranberry sauce that turned out perfectly and the cranberry sauce that I had to rescue. For some reason, the cranberry sauce that I microwaved was very, very similar to what you buy in a can. The sauce made with whole berries was delicious as well. This was actually my first time ever adding extra spices to cranberry sauce, and I have to say that I liked it more than I thought I would. I'd like to see how brown sugar would work out as well. Considering the fact that you don't have to cook the whole berry version for as long and you don't have to strain it, it's definitely easy. Honestly, learning how to make cranberry sauce from scratch is really easy. Honestly, I thought about not telling my viewers about the first batch, but since I found a way to save it, I thought that it would be helpful because, let's be honest, things don't always work out, and sometimes as a chef, you have to learn how to save them. So, if you've never made homemade cranberry sauce, be sure to make this recipe. It's the perfect side dish for Thanksgiving or Christmas dinner. As always, thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.